Hey, what's going on YouTube? Parrish Plays here. Got another one for you today. It's going to be a question that I get pretty often, and that's Parrish, when should I buy singles? And this goes well with my video from Wednesday that was all about filling up your master sets. Well, how and when do you do that? I mean, I just told you that I'm working on Destined Rivals and Stellar Crown right now. So does that mean you should go out and be trying to fill out every one of these new master sets and buying the big singles right as they come out? No. And most of us that have been in the hobby for a little while know this, and it's something you kind of learn as you go. So I'm trying to speed up that process for some of you that are new here and kind of give you the secret sauce without you guys having to learn this lesson on your own. The general rule of thumb is that you're going to want to wait about 6 months until after release, and that's when singles are going to come down and kind of be at a price that's at a real good spot to buy them before they kind of shoot up or do anything crazy. And it's interesting that we're in the middle of the biggest bull run that, you know, I've ever been a part of, and people are saying that it's bigger than 2020 and 2016. And even then, this rule seems to still be applying, even to this day, to almost every single card. There's very few exceptions to the rule, and that's just something you gotta be okay with, is that there are going to be some exceptions to this rule, but in general, this is going to work like 80, 85, 90% of the time. I obviously just made that statistic up, but it sounds pretty good. So what sets are we going to be looking at that are 6 months old? So really, we're looking 6 months ago was about Prismatic Evolutions. And so Surging Spark, Stellar Crown, those are the two that are kind of, again, I mentioned that I'm trying to fill up my master set on Stellar Crown. Now's a good time. I picked up the 3 biggest cards in this set. Surging Sparks is getting decent, again, because it's a little bit older. Prismatic Evolutions, I would say, is right in that range, but they just got the big reprints, so coming to Sam's Club, so I would probably hold off on that one as well. But these up here, I know I just said yesterday I'm building up a master set in Destined Rivals, but I'm being patient. I'm not buying anything else. I bought some this month for my birthday, but other than that, I'm going to be waiting on these to buy, and I'll get into some examples here and show you kind of what I mean about that. So when we're taking a look here at this is the top cards of the Scarlet Violet Era. Again, only singles we're taking a look at. If you take a look at these, there's, you know, 28, 30 cards here or something. There's only 4 or 5 cards that are not from the newest sets that have been released within the 6 months. And that's exactly to my point, is that these cards come out the gate at their highest level when there's peak hype. People want them, people are FOMOing into them, people are trying to make grading plays. Demand for these cards is at an all-time high when the sets first come out, and then from there the prices are going to drop. So again, we're looking at all these. And again, in that 6 month window, these are brand new, most recent. This, again, Paldean Fates is the one exception that's on here. Twilight Masquerade is number 2. Magikarp is number 3. And then these 2 Charizards down here are 4 and 5. But other than that, all of these are from the most recent, newest sets. So again, I anticipate these to be coming down. And I'm going to show you some examples that they've been doing exactly that for the last 6 months. So if you're into the market for some of these, now might be the time to look in and move these. But again, this is not financial advice. You know, you guys have to make your own financial decisions. I personally never look at single cards as an investment. If I get a double of a card, I'm generally selling that off as soon as I get it. Or I'll try to grade it if I think there's a grading play there. But I'm not holding on to more than one of these cards, especially if it's a big hitter like this. I mean, I just told you that I had a Team Rocket's Mewtwo that I pulled 2 Team Rocket's Mewtwo's. And so because of that, I sold my other one right away because I anticipate prices to be coming down. So I will sell that right away, pocket the money, and then buy some of these singles again in about 5 to 6 months when this set is a little bit older. So there, as I mentioned, there are of course exceptions. The Mew and the Magikarp both are ones that I wanted and got away from me, but I'm going to show you examples that those were actually followed my rule perfectly. And if I had stuck to them and bought them in the 6 month window, I would have got them at a great price. So let's get right into it here. The first one we're going to look at, obviously the big dog, Umbreon EX, Sunbreon, Moonbreon, whatever you want to call it. But we take a look at the 6 month chart, and again, it's gone from $1,600 all the way down to under $1,000 now. It's a loss of 40%. And as I mentioned, Prismatic Evolutions has been out about 6 months now. So if we look at the chart, it's, you know, came out. Usually what happens is it comes out, it gets a little bit of a hype, and then it just goes straight down as more reprints come, as more get opened. Again, with rip and shippers doing what they're doing, I think this trend is only going to continue, and it kind of makes me more and more weary of holding cards for investment, just because rip and shippers are going all the time on Whatnot and Drip and YouTube Live and Fanatics Live and all of these places now. It's just constantly ripping and adding more cards into circulation. So all the more reason to just be patient. That's one of the biggest themes that I want to try to get across in your Pokemon collecting journey, is to be patient and be okay with missing things. You're not going to be able to catch them all. I know the slogan is gotta catch them all. You're just not going to be able to unless you got some deep pockets, in which case you wouldn't be watching my channel. Continuing on, Pikachu EX has done the exact same thing. Again, this has been out about that 6 months, and again, this one came out the gate and really got in, as I mentioned, one of the big crazes started in October, November of last year with the release of Surging Spark. So this one popped way up at the beginning and probably was selling for over $500, but this chart just hasn't caught up. But again, we give it time to cool off a little bit, let the hype die down, and in the last 6 months, it's come down to $269, a 43% increase. Even if you're not looking at this from an investing perspective, from a collecting perspective, that's kind of the point of my channel. I'm trying to get you to get the most out of your collection dollars, as Danny Phantom always says. And one of the ways you do that is by not buying cards at $500 and letting them come down to $250. You just wait and buy the card at $250. That gives you $250 more dollars to spend on something else, which is crazy. You know, that's a lot of money. So you want to be as patient and as strategic as you can about buying these singles, especially these big singles. There's comparisons to this being like Vivid Voltage Pikachu. That was the biggest and greatest thing when 2020 came around. That card did nothing but go down for years and years. I was able to pick that up at a Collecticon for $100 when in the height of the mania, you know, it was probably selling for thousands of dollars. Sort of like this one. I mean, it came out the gate and it was definitely up there, but I could see this one coming down more. But again, if you want to pick it up now, I would say picking it up at $260 is a heck of a lot better than picking it up at $500 6 months ago. You've not only lost $250, but you lost 6 months that it just sat there doing nothing. So again, this one's falling right in line as well. Melodic EX, another beautiful special illustration rare from Surging Sparks, fits that time period. If you'd waited the last 6 months, it's gone down 36%. This is one that's interesting though, because it came out the gate and it was pretty low, and it shot way up, it almost doubled right up the gate. And again, that's kind of, I'll take a look at this with the next one too, but a lot of times these sets first come out and the hype and the FOMO and people trying to do grading plays pushes the card to all-time highs right out the gate. So another reason you just want to be really patient with these cards and you know, do your best to hold off and wait about 6 months and then start looking into some of these. Team Rocket's Mewtwo, exact same thing here. And walk versus walk, talk versus talk, what are you doing? I pulled 2 of these. I already sold one immediately. So this one was an interesting one. You know, pre-ordered really high and then it sort of dropped really big. So if you were lucky enough to get it here, you would have been sitting pretty thinking you were all that in the first month of release. But since then, it's done nothing but drop. So again, it hasn't been out long enough to do any of these, but on the 1 month chart, it's gone down 5% from just over $400 down to $370. And right here, you're showing listings for $365 even. So it's continuing to come down, and I anticipate this to just keep falling for a little bit. Again, there are exceptions to this rule, but in general, the cards are going to be coming down if you're patient enough to wait for them. What about art rares? Again, I mentioned one that I missed was the Magikarp. So am I looking to buy all the art rares up that I can? Typically, no. I did mention in the last video that I bought 2 from Destined Rivals, the 2 Misty cards, just in case those go crazy. But in general, like this Articuno here is my favorite card from Journey Together. It's one of my favorite art rares in the entire Scarlet Violet era. And again, this came out at 40 bucks, or you could have buy it now for 20. That's, again, you're saving half your money. Your collection can go twice as far if you're waiting to buy these cards. So Articuno is one. Well, I actually traded my niece for one of these, but I traded to her probably $30 of value. So Savannah, you're welcome on that one. But if I was waiting to buy this or waiting to make a play or something, again, I mentioned in my grading plays, I typically wait for these to come down because, again, I don't want to be buying here when it's at $30, sending off to PSA, waiting 5 months. Then if I get the card back, it's gone down a little bit. I typically want to be waiting those 6 months and picking them up when they're cheaper, trying to grade them and then sell them on the other side. Again, that's a little bit harder because there's more competition on the back end with the PSA cards, but still, I think that's the way, in my opinion, I like doing that more. And then Stellar Crown, another one. I mentioned that this is one I'm trying to put together a master set for. So again, you take a look at the Squirtle, one of the top chases of Stellar Crown. It's gone down 31%, all the way down from $81 all the way down to $55 right now. So I picked these up this month. The Bulbasaur is a little bit different. This one came out at 32. Then spiked way up to 65 and then back down to 46. So again, you got to watch out for those buyouts because that can sometimes happen, especially in the first life cycle of the card. But if it does, again, don't be afraid to miss out. I didn't buy this Bulbasaur. I actually pulled one of these, graded it and sold it, And then when it ran up to $60-$70, I was like, okay, I missed it. It's not coming. And then when it dropped back down here to 40 is when I picked it up again, thinking that, you know, enough time had passed. It's a pretty decent card, so I'll pick it up for my chase set. So what about if you're just new to the hobby, you've been waiting a little bit, there's a card that it's over 6 months old, but you really want it. This is one that's a little bit harder, and it's going to be much more case-by-case basis. This is my personal favorite card of the era, and it's one of those that kind of pumped with the market back here in October. And a lot of times the cards like this, especially if they're a big hit, like Charizard, you know, they'll pop up with a big pop and then they'll fall back down, but they'll fall back down in a range somewhere, you know, higher than this previous low back here. So it was down here to $100 in October, had its big pump all the way up to $207, and then came back down to $167. So again, as long as you're not buying up here, chasing the FOMO, you can generally be patient. And like, look, the last 6 months it's come down 23%. So again, is this the best price ever? Maybe, maybe not. But a $167 buy-in is a heck of a lot better than a $207 buy-in. Watch the market on cards like these if you're new and kind of missed the boat on these. Just watch the market and see, kind of time things. You'll kind of get a feel for it the longer you've been here. And you know the cards that are going to do well, the popular Pokemon and all that. So it really comes down to a case-by-case basis once it's past its 6-month window. And that's really up for you to decide. One thing I did want to point out, again, I mentioned it sort of earlier, but you really got to watch out for pumps on these cards because they can go down just as quickly as they came up. So this Alteria card here is beautiful, one that I wanted in my collection for a long time. Should have bought it around here at $25, obviously, and then it ran up all the way to $69. And again, at that point, I was like, well, I missed it. I'm okay missing that. Again, I'm not going to have every card. I've already mentioned I missed some of those. My secret is I look to buy them in Japanese if I do miss them. But then it came all the way back down to $36, and I picked this up last month at $36, which again is much better than the $70 price point. So a card like this, just keep an eye on it, and if you see big price swings like this, especially with singles, because it happens all the time, be careful, be cautious, don't chase the high, wait till you see a chart like this where it's gone down 37%. That's not to say it couldn't go down to $14 or $20 or something like that and lose another 50% from here. It certainly could. But again, I'm not looking at these for investment. I'm just looking at it as $36 entry point is much better than a $70 entry point on this. So trying to get the most out of my collection dollars. And then another one here, this Iron Valiant. The chart doesn't even go far enough back. I actually opened one of these, a Paradox Rift ETB on my channel, pulled this card and sold it for probably $75 that first weekend. So I sold it for 75 bucks, and that came all the way down here to 20. Again, spiked up with that recent little buyout, almost doubled, almost up to 40, but then right back down to 20. So another one where on the first weekend, if you know it's not a popular Pokemon, you can kind of sell it. Another big question I get all the time is, you know, I just pulled this card. Should I sell it? Should I hold it? What do you think? There's a million ways to answer that question, but if the set is, again, first 1 to 2 months of release, probably a good idea to sell it. And even the two cards that I missed, the Magikarp and the Mew, if you look at when they came out, again, this came out in June of 2023. So if you look at 6 months from that would be the end of the year, 2024. So when it came out, $65, but at the end of the year, it was $54, $65. So right there, the same exact price. So if I had followed my rule and just waited 6 months and seen, okay, it's not really dropping, but I've given it enough time to kind of sit in the market will get a feel for it. It's not dropping. So now is a pretty good time to pick it up. I would have been fine, and I could have bought it at 65 bucks. Now it's all the way up here at $227, which is just absolutely insane. And then the same exact thing for this Bubble Mew. Came out January 2024, so we'd be looking at May, June, July. Came out at $112. June was $91, $95 in July. So again, lower than it came out as, and much lower than it was today. It would have been a great entry point if I had just waited 6 months and then bought the card then, and it would have been, you know, I would have had the card. And unfortunately, I was doing grading plays on Magikarp, so I did have the card back here, but I eventually sold it, and that's a whole nother discussion. But if you had followed the rule, waited 6 months, you'd be in a pretty good spot. And it's just so interesting to me that even in the biggest bull market that we've seen in such a long time, the cards are still following the same rule. All of these are the highest value cards of the whole entire era, and they've been doing nothing but drop for 6 months straight. All of them but, you know, 4 or 5 exceptions that have now started going up. So it's just crazy. Main point of this video, be patient and be okay missing out. You're not going to be able to catch everything, no matter how much Pokemon drills in you that you got to catch them all. They're trying to get you to spend money and catch them all with your wallet. And unfortunately, we're not able to do that. I'm trying to help you guys get the most out of your collection dollars, so I hope you learned something in this video. If you liked it, I've got plenty more like this. Go check out some of my other videos over there. I appreciate you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section with if you like buying singles and when you typically buy the singles that you guys are looking for, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.